Slowly but steadily we are working our way through the entire Culture series written by Iain M. Banks, and its fourth entry is the short story collection The State of the Art. At least if we use the nomenclature employed by Goodreads.com. As a side note, I tend to retrieve most of the hard facts in these review videos from there, which might be relevant since in some cases different sources will provide contradictory quote-unquote facts. But back to the topic at hand. The State of the Art collection, published in the year 1991, is the shortest entry to the Culture series with its 188 pages. The collection itself is comprised of 8 short stories of varying lengths, which themselves were published previously in various different science fiction magazines in the years between 1987 and 1989. At roughly 100 pages long, the novella named The State of the Art constitutes the largest chunk of the short story collection, The State of the Art. It takes no Sherlock Holmes to deduce that the collection is named after its longest short story. Also, only the novella is clearly defined related to the overarching Culture series timeline. The other entries remain more or less timeless and just take place in the general Culture universe. As you can imagine, the semi-objective figures of merit related to the science fiction hardness, the scope of the literary universe, the originality and the length of the roster of characters are not that easy to define for a story collection. Nonetheless, they do follow the more general trends of the Culture series insofar that the stories are on the softer side of the sci-fi Mohs scale, the scope of the literary universe fluctuates with each story, there are still quite a few compelling and intriguing ideas, and the overall number of characters tends to be at the lower end. Again, all of these ratings vary with each story, and in some cases might not even be applicable in the first place, so take this with a bucket of salt. In terms of critical reception, The State of the Art was nominated for the Grand Prix de l'Imaginaire pour Nouvelles Étrangères in the year 2011, and it won the Premio Ignotus para Mejor Cuento Extranjero in the year 2012. These awards are likely related to one of the editions of The State of the Art, which were published years after 1991 and translated to French and Spanish respectively. The popular reception can be summarized in a combined score of 3.9 out of 5 stars based on thousands of Goodreads, Library Thing and Amazon reviews, which is actually a reasonably good combined rating for a short story collection if you ask me. As mentioned previously, the collection consists of 8 separate stories. The first entry, Road of Skulls, was originally published in the anthology 20 Under 35 in 1988, and it is about 2 men who are traveling in a carriage along the eponymous Road of Skulls, heading towards a distant city that seems to be constantly retreating and producing the infinite road. The second entry, A Gift from the Culture, was published in the summer 1987 issue of Interzone, and is about a man who has exiled himself from the Culture, but is now being pressured into committing an act of terrorism with the help of Culture technology. Also, it was announced in late 2009 that this story was in the early stages of being adapted for the cinema by Dominic Murphy, although there have been no new developments since, and it will probably never come to fruition. The third entry, Odd Attachment, was originally published in the anthology Arrows of Eros in 1989, and it is about a lovesick alien who encounters a humanoid explorer and the unfortunate events that unfold from this. The fourth entry, Descendant, was originally published in the anthology Tales from the Forbidden Planet in 1987, and it describes a Culture soldier and his sapient spacesuit who struggle to survive after crash landing on a barren planet. The fifth entry, Cleaning Up, which was published as the souvenir book for NovaCon 17 in 1987, tells the story of an alien race that discovers that a faulty teleporter has been sending junk to Earth instead of the Sun. The aliens work with national authorities to recover the futuristic technologies, but the last gift to arrive, the malfunctioning teleporter itself, causes a global disaster when the United States tries to use it for a first strike against the USSR. The sixth entry, Peace, originally published in the Observer magazine in 1989, is a commentary on religion and fundamentalism, told in the form of a recovered letter from the Lockerbie disaster. It was adapted by Craig Warner and directed by John York for BBC Radio 5 and broadcast on the 6th of June 1991. The seventh entry, the short story The State of the Art, was originally published as a separate novella in 1989, and it chronicles a culture mission to Earth in the late 1970s and serves as a prequel to the novel Use of Weapons, which is evident since Special Circumstances agent Rastko Derusa disiet embles smada marinede, or Disiet Smar for short, and the drone Skeffen Amtiscore are some of its main protagonists. I guess there are few better ways to train your pronunciation than the names of humanoid special circumstance agents. Anyways, the story explores the pros and cons of first contact between the technologically advanced culture and, well, the flawed humanity of the 1970s. Not that it has gotten much better since. The novella was adapted by Paul Cornell and directed by Nadia Molinari for the afternoon play slot on BBC Radio 4 and broadcast on the 5th of March 2009. The eighth and final entry, Scratch, was originally published in the Fiction magazine in 1987 and is a stream of consciousness narrative that samples random sections of the future. Overall, the cornerstone of the short story collection, The State of the Art, is the novella of the same name, both in quantity and quality. The novella further fleshes out special circumstances, foreshadows the increasing importance of the sometimes peculiar sentient ships, and actually poses some thought-provoking questions related to the dynamics between civilizations on a vastly different technological, economical, and societal level. The other entries are of varying quality, as is not uncommon in short story collections, but the majority of them are still worth a read, especially if you are a fan of the Culture series. And with a total length of just 188 pages, you can do this pretty quickly. If you liked this video, you may also enjoy the other reviews and content on my channel. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to discuss the novels or if you want to suggest other books that I should review in the future. Please consider upvoting and subscribing, it is much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and until next time.